beautiful atrium of the recently renovated downtown main library for what I know will be a truly special evening with New York Times best-selling author Matt Dinniman. Please know that a portion of tonight's ticket sales go directly to the Library Foundation, and that the Library Foundation supports our library through strengthening our collections, expanding programs like this one, enhancing our services. To learn more about the foundation and their impact on the library, please visit supportchpl.org. Let me turn my page. Tonight's author talk is just one of the many our library system is hosting. Please do go to chpl.org and look for author talks. You can find out more about what's coming up that way, or you can follow us on social media for announcements about ticket sales. I don't have to tell you that it's important to watch for those ticket sale announcements. Now, I would like to introduce Mary Ross, Manager of Events and B2B Development for Joseph Beth Booksellers. Mary, come on down.
Hello, everyone. We're so excited that you're here tonight. I just have a few housekeeping notes to begin. First, we will be selling patches and books after the talk that Matt and Vaughn are about to have. So if you didn't get them now, feel free to stop by after. Second, each one of you should have received a line letter when you entered tonight. That line letter is your place in the signing line. So if you have a VIP, which should just be the people in the front here, you are first, then we'll move to people with mobility issues or small children. And then after that, we will go in alphabetical order A through Z. You'll hear from me. I'll say, if you have line letter A, feel free to line up. We'll be going in through one SB here, over to my right, and most of your left. And then you'll be exiting out the other way. My last housekeeping note is that the hand dryers in these bathrooms over here are very loud. So, if you have to use the restroom during the speaking portion of our event tonight, we ask and recommend that you go into the stacks here where the safe room is. So if you've bought patches, just go around and use the restroom back there. Without further ado, Matt Dinniman is a writer and artist from Gig Harbor, Washington. He is the author of the New York Times best-selling Dungeon Crawler Carl series, along with several other books about the end of the world. He doesn't really hate Cocker Spaniels, and he plays bass in one band. Maud Garrett will be his moderator tonight. She is the host of Maud's Book Club, a content creator, producer, and self-professed gaming addict, originally from Australia. Let us welcome Matt and Maud.
Is this thing on? There's people on both sides.
Whoa, check it out. We got the left side, strong side. Say hello.
Nice.
That was a 5. Can I get a 10? Hello? Hi, left. We got middle over here. Hi, middle.
Yeah!
Don't you feel embarrassed? Good stuff, man. What about the right-hand side? Which one's the best?
I don't know. I think the right-hand side is the
You guys, one last chance. You want to try again? 1, 2, 3.
That's pretty good.
So just a heads up, no one in the dungeon gets a second chance, really, so you did great with yours. Hi, Ellie. Hi, Samantha. Who else is cosplaying? Stand up. Who made an effort? Brandy in the front. We got donuts. Lots of donuts. Oh, we got goofy cheeses. Oh my God, we got a baby. Come. What's this? Oh, my couches.
So this is my first time in Cincinnati. I've been a fan of Cincinnati since I was a kid, if you read the book. tried Skyline Chili.
What do you think of it, Matt?
It's about what one would expect. And tomorrow I'm gonna go visit the zoo.
Why, Matt?
Why? Because I'm getting a special behind-the-scenes visit with Miss Fiona. So.
Why is Fiona so important to you? Is there any correlation to Dungeon Crawler, Carl?
Well, if you actually have a physical copy of the first book, the Ace book, you'll open it up and you'll see that it's actually dedicated to Fiona. And if you go to the very end, there's an author's note that explains why I dedicated it. And
No one's going to read it?
someone will read it, I mean, it'll be fine. But before we get started, I always like to ask a few questions. Raise your hand.
No, make noise.
And raise your hand and shout if you have not read Dungeon Crawler Carl. You don't count, you work here. So.
It's a really safe space. Thank you for sharing, that was really brave. You could just get someone get him a book. There your Dungeon Crawler journey starts. Hey, we could all read it for the first time. Could we do it as well?
There's a couple. So I want you to raise your hand and shout if you have not read Dungeon Crawler Carl, Book 7.
Who's not caught up? Okay.
Okay, so
Oh, there's a lot more over there.
there's a few of you. So because of these slowpokes, what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to keep spoilers to a bit of a minimum. Some things will probably end up slipping through depending on what you guys ask.
But we're not going to tell them the donut dies, though.
No.
Oh, why are they laughing? Is it because it happened or because it didn't? You won't know because you're not there.
Yeah, nobody here's read Book 9 yet.
Yet.
Now I want you to cheer and shout if you've actually listened to the audiobook. Wow, such a douchey thing to do in a library.
It's the loudest it's ever been.
So thank you very much for coming, guys. So we're gonna sit down and Maud's gonna ask us some questions, and then we're gonna get to audience questions in a little bit.
That's exactly how this is going to go. Thanks, everyone. Now, I know this is a bit difficult. Oh, they rotate. Look at that. Hello. Now we can. Yay!
I feel bad because there's like this speaker thing, and there's a couple people behind it that.
I don't know what your face looks like. Hello. So a little intro about me, because some of you are probably like, who is this Australian woman making lots of noise? Well, hello there. My name is Maud Garrett. I'm an entertainment host, and I get to interview celebrities for a living, which is really, really fun. If you buy me a drink, I'll tell you who's awesome and who's shit. But I also run an online sci-fi and fantasy book club where I encourage you to read more books. I've actually got a couple of my VIP book club members in here. Say hello. Yay! I have favorites. Thank you for showing up, guys. And with that, I get to interview your favorite authors, narrators, and creators. And we've just discovered that I've interviewed you, including right now, 18 times?
Been a lot, yeah.
That's sick of me.
Yeah?
Oh no! Just set that up. So I'm going to try and ask different questions every single time, every interview, every night on the tour, every night on the UK tour that we did 2 months ago. I'm going to spice it up. If there's a question that I haven't asked by the time it's audience questions, if I've failed you, then it's your chance to stand up to these mics and ask your own questions. I will have a little caveat. If you ask anything about the television show in the works, which is so cool and exciting, you will be met with the most disappointing answer of, I can't tell you at all. So who's the favorite? Carl, who do you think should be cast? He can't say. So I'll save you for that one. I've also got a little bit more bad news, and I'm sorry about this, but you can hate me. Their personalizations and signings after this, we're limiting it to one thing. So make it your firstborn or make it count. But that's all that we're able to have time for, so we can get through every single person. Now, you guys were lining up around the block for like a while, so you know how long things can take. And we do thank you for your patience, but because of that, we are limiting it to just one. Alrighty, Matt.
What's up?
You've had so many book tours. Have you ever been to this library before?
I've never been to Cincinnati before, so I've done events in libraries before. I've done inside the Columbus Library, I've done one in St. Louis, but this is a very cool, look at this staircase, it's very cool.
I was a bit nervous because when we do our interviews, we usually bring a Dungeon Crawler Carl energy to it. Matt likes to say suck it a lot, and when he does, I get everyone to say blurp blurp. We're in a library. Do we have kids in here?
There's only a couple, it's fine.
Put your head down. No, there's not.
I could say suck it, baby, and then the baby wouldn't even know. Just the parents.
Maybe they're hungry for dinner. So, is this how you all find out that babies drink milk from breasts? I'm going to have to hold your hand for a second and tell you about life. I do think that if we do this, and if Matt does say suck it, and we all say blurp, blurp, that a librarian will cry. Which, to me, sounds really exciting. So Matt, I'm arming you with that. Please be responsible.
Suck it.
Blurp, blurp. Sorry, librarians. Can you remember the very first time you went to a library or a book that you borrowed that shaped your life somehow?
Wow.
Yeah, I've never asked him that question.
So I've been going to libraries my whole life. I don't remember what the first library I went to is. I've told this story a few times, but my dad was in the U.S. Army, and we moved around a lot. And a lot of times when we moved, it would be at the very beginning of the summer, and I would have no friends. So I would immediately find the library, and I would borrow all the horror books that they had on like the turnstiles. They would be like the 80s horror with those ridiculous covers that had nothing to do with the content of the book. And I would read through all of them. And I was pretty young when I started doing this, like 3rd, 4th grade. And I'd read all the horror, and then I'd read all the fantasy, I'd read all the sci-fi, and then I'd read like the westerns, and then like the military stuff. I read Red Storm Rising by Tom Clancy, which when I was like in the 4th or 5th grade, that's a very complicated book. But these would be small libraries, and you would have like a limit. You could borrow like 5 books, 6 books. And by the end of the summer, librarians were letting me borrow 10 at a time because I was just going through them so quickly. And then I started reading even the romance novels because I ran out of stuff. So libraries have been like a huge part of my life, and it's the whole reason why I wanted to become a writer in the first place. So I've been constantly reading at least something at any given time in a line for my entire life.
It's interesting that the first genre that you were drawn to was horror. You argue that Dungeon Crawler Carl is in fact a horror book.
It is. I have so many readers who say I don't read horror, I don't like horror. That's why I don't advertise Dungeon Crawler Carl as horror, but I do consider it a horror novel. That sense of when people hear horror, they'll think, like It by Stephen King or something like that. But I think that existential dread that runs through the through line, through the story, is imperative to the narrative of the story. And as a result of that dread, I consider it to create Carl to be a horror novel. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have a horrific ending. I mean, it might. We'll see what happens. But I consider myself a horror author. I consider everything I've written horror, and I consider Dungeon Crawler Carl a horror novel.
You also mentioned that you got stuck into the Western genre. Now, Carl also has that. You've inserted that portion of your life into Carl. What are some other key specific moments from your life that you've given to Carl? Well, you made him 6'4".
Well, not the being stalked by a foot fetish freak. But no, Carl isn't really that much like me at all. He's extremely proactive. He's extremely a personality. Even if he's an introvert, when things happen to him, he becomes very, very, very quickly active. I'm definitely not like that. But Carl's a reader. I'm a reader. He can be someone that really truly appreciates his alone time. And I'm like that as well, but I think a lot of us are like that. I am Gen X, and a lot of us, I think, who are Gen X, kind of have this fierce independence streak that runs deeply through us just because of the way we were raised. I mean, I was like a dirt bikes and woods kid in the 80s, and that's, even though Carl was younger, he's 27 when the book starts, he kind of had that same sort of, you know, early childhood where he was kind of left alone to do his own thing, and then everything kind of, as if you've read, you know, everything starts to unravel when he's in his teens, but that's pretty much where the similarities end. I think I'm more like Oliver from Operation Bounce House, honestly, but I mean, that's a whole other conversation.
He's a musician who just wanted to live his life and have a quiet, steady sort of time, and then had to fight off an impending, almost like a tech war with mechs.
Yes.
Do you think that will ever happen to you?
I mean, it could happen at any minute. I mean, that's, Operation Bounce House is near future in some ways, and that's what in the book it's not near future. It's several hundred years because they're on a different planet. They're settlers on a different planet, but it's about the rise of AI, and it's about how we treat those on the other side of the screen. I mean, that's where a lot of the Dutch Crawler Crawl and Operation Bounce House have a very similar theme. It's about how we tend to punch down. We, as of like soulless corporations, tend to punch down upon those who are weaker than them because they can.
Not only that, but people who are anonymous get to shit talk you. Was that the inspiration behind Operation Bounce House? You were playing online video games and they were really mean?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, any of us who's been in like any sort of waiting room or played any online game that happens to have like 12-year-olds find it. I mean, I've had so many people talk about what they've done to my mom the night before. These I mean, children, especially children, but adults who act like children too. They think they're anonymous. They can be pretty horrible online, and that was the impetus for Operation Bounce House.
Do you know how many sandwiches I've been expected to make in my gaming career? You'd think I'd be good at it by now. The themes that take place in the dungeon. We do have an AI who's slowly losing his mind. How did you come up with a primal? And this is a question that was asked in the... Ken, was this you maybe? Someone said, at what stage in writing this did you recognize and know what a primal is? And what does that actually freaking mean?
If you read book 8, I think you'll know quite a bit about what primals are, and I don't want to give that away. Clap your hands and shout or whatever if you finish book 8. So that, I think it'll be pretty clear by the end of book 8, those of you who haven't read it yet. But when I first put Carl as a primal, which is the very beginning of book 2, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, to be perfectly honest. I make everything up as I go along when I write, and I wanted, my goal was to make Carl still look human, but give him something slightly different, but I didn't want to go like the old trope where he's like the chosen one sort of thing that so many books that are of this style fall down. I wanted it to be a choice that a bunch of people could have possibly taken, but not very many did. And it added the challenge where he could train skills up past level 15 as well. But at the same time, I did have this idea about the mental illness that affected his family that was starting to come out and how I can tie those in together. We still haven't fully fleshed that out. So what being a primal to Carl means hasn't been clear yet. What a primal actually is very clear by the end of the book.
What other Easter eggs did you know about early on that you've been excited to explore? Because you are a pantser. You sit down to a blank page and you're like, no idea what's happening today.
It's true, but I do set up several things, and when I set them up, I know I have to pay them off, and then I'll always have constant ideas running through my head. When I introduced Samantha, for example, I knew I needed
what she is.
What is she?
I'm sure we'll find out eventually. And I didn't plan originally on having it be her. I started to joke about this weird guy that has a glass sex doll, and then it just kind of expanded from there. I said, why would he take the sex doll into his inventory and then turn her into real, and it became my favorite character to write. And we'll see what happens. That's like in-game stuff, so we'll figure it out eventually. But there's so many other like storylines. Like when I put Ellie, for example, into the dungeon, I knew ever since I introduced the fact that on the 3rd floor you could, change your race and your class, that they were going to have to try to get some of these old folks and then have them become badasses. And as soon as I introduced her, I knew I was going to do something cool with her. I didn't know what exactly, but I think we've done some pretty cool stuff with it.
There's been some questions that constantly surface, and I'm going to try and get some answers for you. What is, in your definition, the river?
Well, the river ties into multiple different things. I mean, it goes along with what is a primal, what does a primal mean? To be Carl, specifically a primal. Did the river have anything to do with the ring of divine suffering? Did the river exist before he had the ring? Because his mom mentions something similar. So all those questions I think will be answered properly before the end of the series. Sometimes we have things that I think are answered, but sometimes it's not spelled out on the page. So we may not get a super definitive hand-holding answer to that, but I think it'll all be out there. And you guys are really smart. You guys figured out when you have the discussions online, you figure out the craziest things I wasn't expecting anybody to figure out. For example,
Like what?
like the whole thing, what happened with Donut and Zev, and in the 5th book, in the Revolution. It's all on the page. It's all been figured out. And if you go online onto the wiki and stuff, there's a fan wiki that I have nothing to do with. But there's like theories on there that are actually pretty well done, I think.
You're like, people will figure it out, and I'm here going, I'm sitting next to you, I can just ask you.
Good. You just did.
You didn't answer.
No.
You took my question onto a fandom site. That's okay. What are some of the loopholes, the open-ended things that you've set up? Because this is the thing, and I don't know if you know this. Matt, can you confirm, how many more books will we have in the series?
So book 8 just came out, and that's going to be the second to last book. Book 9 is the last book, but it's going to be split into 2 parts, so there'll be 10 books total. And people ask, what is the difference between 9 and like 2 more books, or 1 book's book 2? And the answer is, for book 9, I am going to write it like one continuous story. It's going to have one major overarching arc, and it's going to end on a douchebag cliffhanger. So, that's...
Been warned.
We ate you already.
Emotional damage. Are you writing it that way so that we don't have like this penultimate thing, like this nearly done scope? You're like going to just grab us by the nads and run for the entire time?
Yeah, kind of.
That was way too graphic. I don't even know where that... I'm going to blame Australia for that last one, if I may.
So book 8, I wanted people to enter thinking, how can you possibly wrap this up in 10 books? And by the end of book 8, you're going to be like, oh shit, what are we going to do for 2 more books? So I think it'll be clear.
Still trying. You mentioned Samantha is your favorite character. Who was the unsung hero? Who was a character that you were just like, I didn't expect the level of God tier that this character is bringing to this book?
There's a couple. Katya,
Especially when I first introduced her.
she became such a major part. And
Without spoilers, it's been
difficult to write the most recent book because of the Katya situation. And then Louis has become such an important part of it. And, we've already talked about Kelly, but I think Bonnie is the heart of the team. She's the true glue that keeps them, from completely falling apart.
Praise the healer.
Is there a character that you killed early that you were like, oh man, I wish I saw them through in this particular moment later in the book? And side, is there a character that should not have lasted as long as they have?
So who's your favorite?
Would it be Quan CH? You can't kill him. You already did. Oh, sorry.
Quack, quack.
I have some apologies to make after this.
It's fun. So there's lots of characters who I found really interesting that we never really got enough of, or they may have left us a little bit early. I mean, the most obvious one, I've said this before, is some character that dies on a train in the third book. Yeah, that one. Because I thought that character's story was really, really interesting, but when I was writing that scene, I tend to write scenes over and over again, and then I keep what my favorite one is. And when I write these scenes, I try to kill every person in the room, just to see, how everybody reacts. If I can see a path forward from that scene, which is why I overwrite so much in these books. But when I wrote that particular death scene, I was like, that's badass. I mean, it's simple, and then I kept it. But then when I was done, I was like, oh man, I set up this character, and now we don't have this character anymore, and that's unfortunate. And then there's other ones who I really liked, but I didn't like the voice Jeff did for him, so I killed them. Well, there's a couple. The most obvious one, I think, is in book 6, in the meatball chapter,
It's being made for a reason. But let's talk about Garrett as a character. This is the way that Jeff Hayes does Garrett's, now Ren's, little giggles in the audiobook. That is my happy place. If I were having a sad day, I'd just go internal and I'd be like, everything's great again. What are the character voices that you think are absolutely excelled at?
So Audible just put out a video about this, and they do all the voices. I think Jeff does an amazing Quasar. I think he does Orin really, really well. His deep voices are amazing. But I mean, who here thought when they first listened to it that there was a separate female voice actress? Even recently, I've had people come up to me and say, why didn't you credit the female narrator in this book? Because he is so good at doing female voices. And his Princess Donna is just amazing. His Zev is amazing. Even his Cascadia is amazing. And Cascadia has some pretty awesome stuff in the most recent book.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
I was earlier talking about maybe having to apologise for something that I have just slipped, but I would like to talk about the apologies that you're going to have to make after book 8. Who here is a redhead? Raise your hand.
Kentuckian.
Who here is a redhead that hasn't read book 8? I am not sorry.
Should be. Also, do we have any other Australians here? You know what? 3 for 3 we've not. That's fine. On behalf of all of Australia, fuck you for that one too. It even says that it has to be the most diabolical take on an Australian accent. And not only that, but we do live readings with Jeff, and Matt will purposely pick the scenes where Jeff has to do a diabolically bad Australian accent in front of me. And I'm just sitting there seething, like hating every second of it. But then Jeff does a really good no. It's like, what can't this man do? But still not cool, dude, not cool.
I'm trying to find out what I can do. That's the fun part.
With so much happening, with so many characters, with such little time to get it all squared about, how are you keeping track of what needs to happen in this last hurrah?
So I have an Excel sheet that I use. I said multiple times already tonight that I'll have to answer and make it all up as I go along. But I keep very, very careful track of everything that's behind me. We have several hundred named characters at this point, and every time I know that characters are going to return, I have a sheet for them. I have their stats, or a rough version of their stats. I have what spells they can cast. I have their inventory, and I also have a whole separate sheet that has all the open-ended questions, and it's a lot. I closed some of them in book 8, and I definitely opened a few more, but I closed one and I opened for the first time ever, thankfully. And now for book 9, it's just going to be loop after loop after loop after loop. It has to be closed. And it's going to be very fun for me to write, but it's also going to be easily the most difficult thing I've ever written in my life. Book 7 was very difficult to write. Book 8 was pretty easy because it was fun, and I said, fuck it at the end and did what I did. You'll know when you get there, and then it just made my work cut out for me for this next 2 books.
You said fuck it. I actually thought you said suck it.
Blarp, blarp.
Yeah, but I didn't.
Let's talk about book 8. A lot of you haven't read it, but as you can see from the title page here, we've got a food. Carl is surfing on the top of a food truck. What can you explain to us, relatively spoiler-free, about a parade of horribles?
So the book 8, it's this is from the description. It's the 10th floor, and when they get there, the challenge is extremely simple and straightforward. You have to pick a vehicle. Well, actually, you don't get to pick the vehicle. You have to choose a type of vehicle, whether it's a mechanical vehicle or a mount. And then as soon as you choose it, it gets picked for you. You have to spin a wheel. And they clearly pick a mechanical vehicle, and it is a chicken-themed restaurant food truck that has a fake Tommy gun on the top that makes it so they can't even see out the windshield very well. The challenges are races. There's 7 heats with 9 teams per heat, and each heat, the team that comes in last place is killed. And for the final heat, there'll be 3 teams and only 1 survivor. And that's the very simple, very straightforward setup for the 10th floor.
How long have you been sitting on that idea for?
It's been a while. I have a document where every time I think of a cool floor idea, I write it down, and there's well over 100 different floor ideas. I wish I could do all of them. A lot of them, they just take away too much agency because they're designed almost like Squid Game, where they have to do a very specific task, and if they fail it, they're dead. And that's cool, and it's fun for me to come up with them, but it doesn't necessarily make for the best story. But sometimes I'll drop them in, especially when we talk about previous seasons and cookbook authors. And there's plenty out there I'd love to do, but just not going to be able to get to all of them.
Well, let's highlight one. Which level will we never see, but we get to hear about right now?
So last time I talked about the roly-poly-oly. Who's watched that show? So the TV show Roly-Poly Oly, my wife and I, we have several children. One of my children was obsessed with that show. In that show, everything is sapient. The table is sapient. You pick up a pencil and it has eyes and a mouth. So it was a world where everything was alive, but then they wanted to eat each other. So as soon as they ate each other, they became bigger. And then so by the end of the floor, there's just 2 or 3 monstrosities walking around. And meanwhile, the crawlers are running around and having to deal with that. I had once where they're in a giant spiral and things are coming up the spiral as they're coming down, which sounds fun and it sounds kind of neat. Very simple concept that could have all sorts of crazy fuckery, but it just wouldn't be a great one for the main storyline.
So your inspirations come from television shows?
Television shows, video games, books, anything.
That last one sounds like it's a Japanese game show for sure.
Yes.
Level 3 gave me World of Warcraft vibes. Am I hot? Cold? Is that right?
Yeah. So I played the original Diablo, and then you have that little town, and then you go inside the dungeon. That sort of thing was definitely inspiration for that. And the 4th floor with the trains, that was actually voted for by my Patreon folks, so you can blame them.
What did Patreon get to vote on in this book? Is that going to spoil too much? What are they voting on lately that we've already read that's just shifted how the book series has gone?
So, without spoilers for the 8th book, if you come in last place but survive, so second to last place basically, after each heat, you get to pick an upgrade for your vehicle, but if you come in, if you're the last surviving member, then the audience gets the vote on what happens to your vehicle. And so they pick like ridiculous things, like, for example, without spoilers, like Louis, instead of like something that would help him live, they give him like wheel spinners on his truck. So they voted for something that happens to Carl and Donut, and I thought it was pretty funny. But actually, yeah, so that's like some of the things they voted for. I still haven't done it, I'm about to start it. They're gonna vote for Mordecai's form for the next floor. So that's a big one. They voted for, in book 7, there's a character named Rend. And there's a whole conversation over like what name they should pick. In the book, that's actually what the vote was. They got to pick what his name was, and that was the one that won.
So they opted out of not having a Garrett. As a Garrett, I actually think that was the worst decision that they made, personally. Yes or no, did you name Garrett after Maud Garrett?
No, I did not.
Oh, cool. Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
You get time to change your answer if you want.
I could. Would you really want me to have named?
I think that the most accurate representation of me is a giant meatball that laughs at everything and can die over the dumbest things. A lovely character.
Sure.
Yay! Who was recording that? Did anyone get evidence? Yeah, cool. At Maud Garrett. I will publish that to the world. What was level 8 inspired by?
Level 8, the bubbles.
Sorry, book 8.
Book 8, oh, okay. So, book 8, that was inspired by Hanna-Barbera Wacky Races.
I'll take it.
All the people my age. Mixed in with, a little bit of Mario Kart and that sort of stuff.
Who'd you play Mario Kart?
Princess Peach.
Twisted Metal.
I've only party trick. Peach, why do you think I know this? And the best thing, I've got 2 older brothers, and if I ever beat them, it wasn't just me, it was also Princess Peach. She's like, ha! And I'd be like, suck it.
Blurp, blurp.
God damn right. I want to talk about this one because so many people listen to the audiobooks. Is there a phrase that Jeff has brought to life that sticks in your head or is almost like a vocal stim for people? If you've got one, yell it out. If you've got That's a great one. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because when I write it, there's things I think are going to be funny. Things that, and then there's lots of things I never even thought about that were going to be, become part of, the discussion when they talk about their favorite lines. A lot of the times is because of the way Jeff says it. The way he does Diwata is because he couldn't pronounce it. Didn't know how to pronounce it properly, so he just does it like that. And it's probably super offensive to, a certain subset of people. But anyway, it's become funny. And then his don't gaslight me, Jesus. That I never, it's one of those sentences I had forgotten I even put it in there until right after that audiobook came out, the book 6 audiobook, and then it's the one thing that people keep, coming back to. I suspect chapter 57 of the audiobook of book 8, you'll know when you get to it, is the one that people will be coming back to a lot.
I'm just trying to go through the audiobook and stopping at chapter 57.
It's a scene in a bar.
Okay. Got nothing. I'd love to share mine if that's okay. Try and laugh out loud. Who's been doing a re-listen or a reread to anticipate book 8? Are you discovering new things in your reread? Love that. Book 2, level 3. They're sitting at the bar. There's an orc woman, and she starts giving the quest. And Mordecai, without missing a beat, says, "No, fuck off." That was so perfect. I loved it so much. Again, a librarian is crying every time. I'm so sorry. You didn't think about this when, they said that Maud was moderating.
is you motherfucker too in book 3 when Chaco appears and it comes from nowhere.
Does that beef ever get settled?
I suspect, Chaco is in book 8. So.
Do we trust or like Odette? So Odette's a really interesting character because she's inside baseball.
Odette is a very important character in the story, and I don't know if we trust her or not. We do learn a little bit more about her backstory in book 8 as well. Just a little bit.
This is my last question. So if you've got questions and you've got a brilliant one, you can start making your way up to those 2 microphones there and we'll bounce back and forth. So while you're doing that, my last question that I would like to ask you, Matt, is at what stage did you realise that a talking cat was going to take over your life?
That's kind of an interesting question. When I first published Dungeon Crawler Carl in October of 2020, it started doing well. It started doing pretty well for a self-published book, but it wasn't like crazy banana bonkers yet. And it was earning enough money, because we were in the midst of the pandemic and I was selling cat art for a living, and that all stopped once the pandemic started. And we didn't have any additional income because Amazon stopped selling stuff as well, and we were selling our art on Amazon. And then in January of 2021, the audiobook came out, and I started to go online, and I would start to see people in some of the forums, hey, I just read this book and I want to talk about it. And it was cool. And it started slowly earning enough money to make us, my wife and I, we were struggling financially just because of the need, and we all were during the pandemic. And it was just starting to catch up money-wise that we were almost comfortable. And then the next books came out, and by the time we were around halfway through 2022, the books were earning enough money for us to properly live off of. And then in August of 2024, the ACE books, the ones that you got today, came out, and then TikTok discovered it, and it just kind of blew up. And even in the past year, it's gone crazy. By comparison, in August of 2024, when the first book came out, across the entire series, including ebooks, audiobooks, and physical books, we had sold about 500,000 copies, which is a lot. It's a lot for a book series. Right now, with this new book coming out and with all the pre-orders, we're almost at 9 million copies.
Well done, you.
Thank you.
And I will say, you guys can agree with this, you were obviously recommended the book by someone, and then you've since gone on to recommend it to every single person you've ever met in your life. Because it's the kind of book that you know someone's going to fall in love with. It's almost a guaranteed win, right? I know my friend passed it on to me, and then I have done them with every single book with my book club, and it's the best time. So thank you so much. And on behalf of everyone sitting here, thanks for bringing us such an amazing series, a fantastic world, and a reprieve from our days so that we can escape in there and just have the best time. So thank you, Matt Dinniman.
What is going on here with the microphones? There's nobody lined up at this microphone.
See, this is the thing. I would min-max the system. I would drop all my stat points on this mic knowing I was going to get a question. Yeah, look at everyone in that line going.
Let's get this person first.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna switch the tone a little bit then. I'm gonna ask you about something other than Dungeon Crawl.
I can't hear you though. You have
Gotta
to.
get that mic
Oh
up
man,
in
okay.
your...
I thought I was projecting enough. Sorry. I'm gonna switch it a little bit before everybody else.
Before we do this, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We have to do this for everyone, and it's so important because it was your favorite catchphrase. Every time someone has a question, I'm going to ask what your name is, and then everyone else is going to be like Zeb and say hi, person's name. Okay? Sound good? So what's your name?
Brian.
Hi, Brian. What's your question?
Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit older than Dungeon Crawler Carl. Are you ever gonna go back to Dominion of Blades at any point?
That's a very interesting question. So I heard a rumor that the books 1 and 2 of Dominion of Blades may be picked up by a publisher, and that contract includes book 3 of Dominion of Blades.
Outstanding.
So yes.
Thank you for not Gothicus on me. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Who came up with that rumor, Matt? It was oddly specific.
It could be untrue. I mean,
That would be so maniacal.
that'd be hilarious.
Hi, what's your name?
Dion.
Hi, Dion!
So the idea that the levels went down, read on Reddit or somewhere on the internet, that it was from at a cat show in Cleveland at the IX Center when you're doing the cat pictures that you saw. True, fake news? And one other question, if that is a total bullshit thing, what is the least favorite character of yours to write? We all know about that Samantha's your favorite, so what's the least?
Well, who is your favorite character?
Go for it.
No, I don't know if I have a least favorite character. If I have a character I don't really like, then I won't put them in there very much. But it's true. I've traveled to multiple cat shows. The biggest one was the CFA Championship in Cleveland, and I saw at that particular show I saw a little kitten tortie Persian cat in a cage glaring at me all weekend long, and that was the inspiration for Princess Donut. So it's you know Ohio born pretty much.
So Cincinnati, you can thank Cleveland for that.
I'm from Cleveland, hell yeah!
Thank you so much. Next, what's your name?
Chad.
Hi, Chad!
Hi, audience. Could I want to sort of not talk about Dungeon Crawler Carl, but have you ever had a seagull steal a French fry?
I have had a seagull steal a hot dog out of my hand when I was a kid, and it traumatized the fuck out of me. Especially since my dad, who's a great person, got mad at me and said it was my own damn fault and wouldn't buy me a new one.
I love that he just opened up a childhood trauma and then Hi there, what's your name?
My name's Alex.
Hi, Alex!
Matt, my question for you is, what satisfies you more creatively? Writing a very clever joke or a very impactful moment?
It's definitely a more impactful moment. Jokes come and go. I mean, I write jokes left and right, and then I have to sit with them and like, no, that's stupid. I'm not going to keep that. But usually I know right away if whether an impactful moment is, an important part of the story or not. It's really hard sometimes you have to be careful not to write things that are like drama for the sake of drama. You have to make them move the story forward, where in the jokes I don't have to worry about that. So, I mean, on a technical standpoint, the jokes are easy, and then the impactful moments are the ones that stay with me as an author more in my head, because it makes, so I appreciate them as more in my own work, if that makes sense.
I'm going to piggyback on that, Alex. When did you realize that You Will Not Break Me would be the anthem that it is?
I wasn't sure. I tend to write characters who have some sort of phrase enter their head, and it becomes like a mantra. And I've done it a lot of times in a lot of my books. And as soon as I wrote that, I knew that I was going to come back to it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Hello there, what's your name?
What about this guy?
Oh, hello. We cheated the system, I love it, we respect it. What's your name?
Hi, my name's Carl.
Hi, Carl!
With a C or a K?
With a C.
Interesting.
So, my question for Matt. One, thanks for writing such a cool Carl. You're doing all the Carls in the world a favor. So you're sitting in your chair writing 2020, and the name Carl hits you. What were you thinking?
I wasn't thinking about you, Carl. It's funny because you think every time I write a book, I have to come up with the main character's name, and sometimes they just come to me, like Adam and Oliver, and I can't remember why I picked Carl. Honestly, it's probably because it's not quite alliteration, but it sounds cool. Dungeon Crawler Carl.
And it's really easy to say.
Yeah.
I've stumbled over it once.
It's memorable too, because there's lots of great books out there. You'll read them, but you don't remember what the main character's name is, and you can't ever forget Carl's name. It's in the title, and then you'll never forget Donut's name either, just because she's such a diva. But
thank you, Carl. Hi there. What's your name?
I'm Rich.
Hi, Rich!
So, in all your books, you tend to cross over the line of decorum and
What?
meatus, and other things. How many times do you, because I know you draft so often, how many times do you draft something out and say, no, I can't go there, this is just a little step too far?
not very often. So this is an interesting question because it goes back to, like you said, I draft often. And a lot of times if I get in a scene and I think it's a little too boring, then I try to make it more ridiculous. And then what I do is I'll write something that is a little more unhinged, and then I'll go a step further and I try to make it too much. And then I give myself permission. If I get stuck, I say to myself, okay, I'm gonna write this as ridiculously as I can think of, but I'm not gonna use it. And when you give yourself permission to write something without knowing that you're not gonna use it, it kind of opens up the pores, and then you can come up with anything. And that's where I got meatus from. That's where I got the scene at the very, very, very end of the book. And I had to actually rewrite an earlier part of the story to make it fit. Book 8 I'm talking about. And that's how we got the train scene in book 8. That's how we got, there's so many times. There's like the nipple piercing thing. I just added nipple rings for fun, and I thought it was like, he's gonna pierce a cat's nipple. And then, then it becomes like a kind of a funny scene. So,
Rich, there's a horny AI who loves feet. Like, where do you think the line was?
I don't know, that's just why I want to know whether he's ever gone over that.
no, I have so many ridiculous things that are on the cutting room floor. I mean, just bonkers, bizarre stuff that just doesn't work. And usually I go as far as I can.